The Master's Mysteries, Tales of Magical Mastery, Episode 13. Old Dao ventured into the mountains late at night in search of herbs. He encountered several strange creatures with unusual heads and bodies. Just as he was terrified, the creature with the head of a deer and the body of a monkey let out a strange cry. The cry was neither that of a deer nor a monkey. It sounded more like the call of a night owl. It echoed through the late night, sending shivers down Old Dao's spine. He was so scared that he almost wet his pants. After the strange cry, the creature swiftly leaped off the rock, startling Old Dao, who immediately jumped up and turned to run. There was no trace of his usual dignified and graceful demeanor. It was no wonder Old Dao was afraid. The moment that creature cried out, the entire forest resounded with various strange sounds. It was incredibly eerie, as if monsters could emerge from every corner at any moment. Old Dao was so scared that he ran frantically, darting east and zigzagging west. Before long, he had lost his way. But as he ran, suddenly the ground beneath him disappeared, and before he could react, he tumbled into a large pit. Fortunately, the pit wasn't too deep, and the soil at the bottom was relatively soft. Old Dao, holding his head and groaning, took some time to feel his way out and climb back up. However, when he saw the situation in the pit, he broke out in a cold sweat. The pit had a diameter of about tens of meters, and it was filled with a foul stench. Almost every kind of animal carcass filled the pit, and most of them had their heads severed. Whether it was due to Old Dao's disturbance or not, those corpses started to wriggle strangely, as if they could crawl back to life at any moment. It was truly a terrifying sight in the middle of the night. Though Old Dao wasn't scared to death, he was close. He desperately used his hands and feet to climb out of the pit. Old Dao was quite nimble, and he quickly climbed out of the pit. But just as he reached the edge of the pit, he noticed a shadow looming over him. Old Dao sniffed and caught a whiff of a putrid odor. His heart skipped a beat as he gathered the courage to look up. He was so scared that he almost fell back into the pit. He saw a rotten corpse standing in front of him, with an abnormally large and fat head, but a shriveled body. It was a truly horrifying sight. Oh my goodness, it's a ghost. The zombie stood motionless at the edge of the pit, staring at Old Dao. Terrified, Old Dao let out a scream and ran as fast as he could. His cries for help echoed through the air. Leaving behind Old Dao, who was exhausted from running through the mountain forest, let's turn our attention to Liao Fengyi at Dr. Xu's house. At this moment, Liao Fengyi had silver needles inserted into several acupuncture points on his body by the divine doctor. This Dr. Xu was truly skilled, as black blood oozed from each needle's puncture site. Thank you for saving me. As the poison dissipated, Liao Fengyi gradually regained some consciousness. He attempted to mobilize his internal energy to force out the remaining toxins. Why can't I move my body? However, when he tried to do so, he discovered that his true energy had been sealed off by the divine doctor. Perplexed, Liao Fengyi mustered his strength and inquired, I detoxified you, not to save you. Unlike other doctors, this divine doctor's attitude toward patients was not kind and friendly. I merely want your physical vessel. With an icy expression and a rigid tone, the divine doctor uttered a strange statement. After that, he turned and entered the inner room. Before long, he emerged holding a young person in his arms. Leaving behind a puzzling remark, the divine doctor left, carrying the young person with him. The divine physician carefully placed the frail young man on the wooden platform beside Liao Fengyi. At this moment, Liao Fengyi couldn't move his body, so he could only try to move his eyes to look at the young man. This glance immediately startled him. Chanbao, Father will perform the soul-switching technique for you. Father has found a good body for you. Before Liao Fengyi could understand, he heard the divine physician whisper a sentence. Soul-switching. Body switching. Could it be that this divine physician wants to exchange his own body for this young man's? The young man was currently naked, and besides his head, His body appeared with multiple areas of necrosis and decay due to long-term illness. When the white cloth was lifted, a foul smell of decay wafted out. But despite such a body, he was still alive. Father has examined him, and his body matches yours very well. It's truly a rare encounter. After the exchange, you will be stronger than before. Listening to the divine physician's words, it became clear that this young man was his son. However, it was unknown why his body had decayed, and the divine physician had been wanting to find him a new body. Father, I don't want to switch. Just as the divine physician was feeling happy, he didn't expect the young man to refuse his father's request. We are healers. We cannot harm others just to survive. This is not the way of a healer. The young man's words clearly hurt the divine physician, causing his body to tremble, and his expression became grim. Stop talking. You will become a good healer in the future and save many people. But he clearly didn't accept his son's reasoning. He had already made up his mind to exchange his son's body. With his life, in exchange for more lives, it's worth it. For the sake of his son, even if it meant killing another innocent person, he was willing to do it. Father, stop deceiving yourself with such excuses. What difference does this make from a butcher? The young man with a face full of disease confronted his father, unmoved by his words. Father, do you remember how you used to educate me? As he said that, he recalled the past between him and his father. The treatise on cold damage cannot be merely memorized. It must be learned and applied in practice. In the 4 miseries decoction, add half a pig's gallbladder. If there is no pig's gallbladder, substitute with sheep's gallbladder. It turns out this divine physician, Sue, was truly an extraordinary figure. He used to be a court physician, but after his wife passed away and tired of the political struggles, he secluded himself in the mountains with his son, Sui Tianbao, focusing on educating him. I understand, Father. Please teach me something new. Are you already running before you learn to walk? Frivolous. Speaking of this son, he truly was a medical prodigy. He followed his father from a young age, learning everything through his father's teachings. By his early teens, he could replace his father in diagnosing and treating severe illnesses, and with a few doses of medicine, the illness would be cured. All right, tomorrow, Father will teach you the 50 essential formulas. Father, then I'll go catch an earth dragon. Be careful. Su, the divine physician, was strict but caring. He taught his son all his skills and had confidence that his son's achievements in the medical field would surpass his own. Watching his son grow day by day, his heart was filled with joy and hope. His son became his everything. Father, add a dose of chicken's inner gold to the previous prescription. There was one time when the father and son were returning from a medical visit, and on the way, they encountered an old beggar who had fainted by the roadside. Father, let's go check on that old lady. It seems she's sick. As practitioners of medicine, they naturally couldn't ignore it, and quickly ran to the old beggar's side. Father, it seems like a plague. Don't go near. It's contagious. They saw the old beggar's face turning pale, struggling to breathe, and it seemed like she was about to pass away. With their extensive experience, they recognized the symptoms of the plague. Father, she's a beggar. She can't pay you for the treatment. In truth, Tianbao wasn't concerned about money. He was worried that his father would get infected. So when he saw the divine physician crouching down to provide treatment, he made up an excuse to try to stop him. But unexpectedly, his father gave him a big slap as soon as he approached. Although his father was usually strict, he had never actually hit him before. Remember, we are healers, and in our eyes, there are only patients. If money determines life and death, then what is the difference between us and butchers? Tianbao will never forget his father's words that a healer must always have patience in their eyes, to the point of forgetting oneself. Your own life is never more important than the life of a patient. Remember, this is the way of a healer. That's what his father said and did. Tianbao saw him lift a water kettle, and take a big gulp. Then he fed the dirty and foul-smelling old beggar mouth to mouth, without considering whether the plague the beggar had contracted would infect himself. "Old man, try to thank you. Thank you. Move a little." After an afternoon of treatment, the old beggar finally regained consciousness. Qianbao still remembers the tears of joy shed by the old beggar who had been given a new lease on life. "Remember to take these medicines on time." "Thank you." Sob. His father also gave the old beggar many medicines for free, repeatedly instructing him to take them according to the prescribed dosage, without considering that some of the ingredients were very precious. From the way his father looked at the patients, Qianbao finally understood what his father meant by the way of a healer. "Qianbao, slow down." Understood. But unexpectedly, unforeseen events unfolded. One day, the father and son went to the mountains to gather medicinal herbs as usual. "Dad, look, this plant. It's really. This dendrobium is so big. It must be over 30 years old." When they arrived at a steep cliff, Qianbao discovered a dendrobium plant with excellent quality. Qianbao was very excited. "Be careful. I'll dig it up." Beyond his excitement, Qianbao was about to go and collect it, but accidentally stepped on a loose rock. Suddenly, his footing gave way, and he started falling down. "Qianbao, be careful." Qianbao. In theory, with a rope tied around his waist, it wouldn't be a big deal. But fate had its way. Qianbao's body, falling from the cliff, unexpectedly broke free from the rope tied around his waist, and he plummeted down. Qianbao. All of this happened in an instant, and before divine physician Su could react, Qianbao had already fallen more than 10 zhang away, equivalent to over 30 meters. Qianbao. Divine physician Su watched helplessly as his son crashed into the bottom of the 100 zhang abyss, falling over 300 meters. Then, under Qianbao's body, blood-red flowers blossomed, and after convulsing a few times, he became motionless. His son had always been his only hope in this lifetime, and the sudden turn of events made it impossible for divine physician Su to accept. Qianbao. A heart-wrenching cry echoed throughout the entire mountain range.